Hello, my name is Kari Eckert. I am here to talk to you about Robbie's hope, about my story, and about teen mental health and steps you can take to take better care of your own mental health. But first, I want to tell you a little bit about Robbie's hope. On October 11th, 2018, just under 2 years ago, my son Robbie died by suicide. Robbie was 15 years old, 8 months and 22 days. He was a sophomore in high school. Robbie had just finished his second season on the junior varsity tennis team. He was a swimmer. He was a good student. My husband and I were actually at parent-teacher conferences on the night that Robbie decided to end his life. We, as his parents, had no idea that he was struggling. On the outside, Robbie looked really good. He had a lot of friends. He was succeeding in school. He was enjoying his athletics, and he was a leader. He was someone that others looked up to, young and old alike. When we came home, we were shocked as his parents. We were completely caught off guard. We had no idea that Robbie was struggling. There were no signs. I've learned a lot about suicide and about mental health in the past just under 2 years. And it is now our mission of Robbie's Hope to cut teen suicide rates in half in the next 10 years. That's a big goal. The epidemic of teen suicide is growing in many, many states, not just Colorado. I want to share a few statistics. Many students know that these statistics exist, but very few adults do. And these statistics are from the state of Colorado, but they are representative of the statistics in many states. These are from 2017 from the Colorado Healthy Kids Survey, which is a large survey that public school students take in the state of Colorado. In 2017, 31% of middle school and high school students felt sad or hopeless every day for the past 2 weeks. 13% of middle school and high school students made a suicide plan in the last 12 months. 7% of middle school and high school students in the state of Colorado attempted suicide in the previous 12 months. Those statistics are startling. I had no idea that our state and that suicide in general was an epidemic that myself as a parent needed to be concerned about. And I know many parents, it's just not on their radar screen. When students or kids are like Robbie and everything looks put together, you don't often ask the difficult questions. Are you really okay? Is the way you look on the outside how you feel on the inside? As humans, we talk to ourselves a lot. We probably think to ourselves more than we talk out loud to other people. And commonly, we have a tendency to say negative things to ourselves. Sometimes we can be our toughest critics. But we need to learn to recognize when we are being too hard on ourselves, when our mental health might be in jeopardy. We all have mental health, every single one of us. 20% of the population at a given time will struggle with mental illness. Mental health and mental illness are not the same thing. A mental illness would be a clinical diagnosis of depression, anxiety, bipolar, schizophrenia, but we all have mental health. That 20% of the population that may struggle with a mental illness, 80% of those illnesses are treatable. 80%. But very few people actually seek treatment. That's where the problem lies. There's a lot of stigma involved with having mental illness, and some people even think that there's stigma with having mental health. But we all have mental health. Every single one of us, at some point, will struggle with a period of depression. Doesn't mean that we're clinically depressed. We will all struggle with anxiety at different times and in different situations. But we need to learn what can we do in those situations to prevent our mental health from taking a downturn What can we do to build our mental health up? What kind of coping mechanisms and skills can we have for ourselves? Robbie, my son, did not show anyone that he struggled with anything. In fact, he showed the opposite. He was confident, he was approachable, he was friendly, he was positive, he was witty, he had a really great sense of humor. When he was younger, that often got himself in trouble just because he was quite mature in his language and in his humor. He was a lot of fun. After Robbie's death, we learned that Robbie himself had helped a few other students during his freshman year with their own mental health struggles. Robbie never came to us as his parents to tell us about that. He carried it on his own. Carrying someone else's struggle with suicidal ideation is pretty deep. It's pretty tough. We have learned how important it is to get a trusted adult involved in your journey as a teen. And the reason that is because often you don't want to bring your weights and your worries and your concerns and your thoughts and feelings about yourself to the people that you're closest to, maybe your parents or a coach. You absolutely can. I sure wish that Robbie would have, that he would have reached out. He did not. I would encourage you to think about ahead of time, who is an adult in your life that you could reach out to if you needed for yourself or for a friend. You should think about that when your mind is working well, when your mind is healthy, because in the time of need, it can be much harder to think of who that adult is. So about 2 weeks after Robbie's death, we met with a group of about 150 middle school and high school students. These were kids from 11 different middle schools and high schools in our area. They were there, some of them out of curiosity, but also many of those teens that were there because they cared about Robbie, and my husband and I made it known that we wanted to do something to help the teens in our area. We wanted to learn from them what it's like being a teen today. We listened and we learned a lot. I learned a lot of things after Robbie's death about being a teenager that I didn't pay attention to while Robbie was here. I sure wish that I would have asked more difficult questions with Robbie and had conversations, because conversations can change things. But what we were able to do is to establish our foundation, Robbie's Hope. And like I mentioned before, the mission of our foundation is to empower teens with the tools and resources they need to destigmatize teen mental health, including depression and anxiety, in an effort to reduce the teen suicide rate all across the nation. So we started listening to teens, and we were able to write a really amazing resource that I'm super proud of. It's called the Robbie's Hope Adult Handbook. It's a guide by teens on how to talk to teens. To date, this was released last fall, a year ago. We have distributed over 50,000 of these. School districts have ordered them, counselors have ordered them, pediatricians have ordered them. They've gotten in the hands of parents, teachers. And what this handbook does, it's a guide by teens on how to talk to teens. It's not professionals that wrote this handbook, it's you, the teens, because we are about empowering the teens to change the stigma surrounding teen mental health. And this handbook really is a game changer because it encourages teens to think about who their trusted adult is, and it encourages adults to be a trusted adult, to talk about difficult things, to really ask, how are you doing? Your outside looks like this. Is that how you feel on the inside? So I encourage you, this is available on our website. If you think that it could be helpful in your school or any team that you are on, your coaches, please reach out. We mail these out for free, and they're available in English and in Spanish. We have another handbook that is just releasing this fall, and this too was written by the teens involved in our organization, Robbie's Hope. And this is Robbie's Hope, the Technology Handbook. And obviously you are very aware of what it's like to grow up with a phone. As parents, we, and probably your parents included, gave you a phone when you maybe were finished with elementary school and entering middle school, or some kids are getting phones much younger. And parents generally give their child a phone for safety reasons, but as you know, your phone becomes much more than just something to have for safety. And you are the first generation that's really growing up with so much knowledge right in your hand, but also, of course, with many dangers right in your hand. And as parents and adults, I think we have done a poor job of equipping you with just the tools needed to use that phone appropriately. And that's what we're trying to do with this technology handbook. Often when I talk to adults about teen mental health and about the epidemic of teen suicide, they blame it on phones. And that's what they say is the cause of why so many teens are taking their lives. And I always defend the teens. It is not your fault that you have a phone. There are just as many adults who have issues using their phone appropriately. Most of us can do a better job. Our phones are designed to be addictive and to train our minds that we need likes and that a lot of our values are placed in our phone. And as we mature as teens, I watch this, as you grow up, you learn that there's a lot more important things about you than just how many likes you have on the different platforms of social media that you use. But those are skills that you have to learn and you have to pay attention to. I wear an Apple Watch. At first, my watch wasn't set up quite right, and I was getting notifications all the time. And I kind of realized, hey, my watch is controlling me as opposed to myself using my watch the way I want to use it. So I went into the settings and I turned things off. And I encourage you to think about that with your phone. You can use the timers on your phone. How much time are you really spending on Snapchat, on Instagram? Are you having the face-to-face conversations with your friends that you need to have? A face-to-face conversation is very different than a conversation with Snapchat or with Instagram. During COVID, that's become more challenging, but I think there are ways that you can use your phone completely appropriately if you choose to. And I challenge you to take that on for yourself. There's no one else that can do that for you. It has to be something that you want for yourself. But just pay attention to your mood. How do you feel after you've spent 30 minutes on Instagram or TikTok? And was it just 30 minutes? Was it an hour? Was it a few hours? Are you skipping sleep at night because you're spending too much time? Are you missing out on conversations with the adults in your life, your parents? Are phones present at the dinner table? I know at some time in myself, I can spend too much time on TikTok. TikTok is fun, but I have to step away and say, is this really how I want to spend my time? Or do I want to interact with the people who are in my life right here? So I want to talk a little bit about when mental illness can become a problem so that you can be aware of things to look for in friends and classmates and teammates, just to be cognizant of what a mental illness may look like. The hard part for your age group, for teens, is that a lot of these factors look very typical to teen development. But it's when problems, changes persist, when they last for 2 or more weeks is the time frame that professionals use, is when you need to maybe think about, maybe this is a little bit more than just a passing change. Maybe it's becoming a problem. When someone is pulling away from people or activities that they used to enjoy, when their energy changes, they have low or no energy. When you struggle with depression, it can feel like you're glued to the bed, like that's how low your energy is. When you feel numb or like nothing matters, when you have unexplained aches or pains, when you're highly irritable and picking fights with people that you generally don't fight with, when you feel helpless or hopeless, using drugs or alcohols more than usual, feeling confused, forgetful, on edge, upset, worried or scared, severe mood swings, thinking of harming yourself or someone else, the inability to perform your daily tasks. If it becomes hard to get to school, if it becomes hard to do your schoolwork, that's when it's time to think about what may be going on. Are you struggling too much? Has your anxiety become too deep? Has your depression become a problem that you need to think about getting some help for yourself or for a friend? Ways to maintain your mental health are really important. You have been taught how to take care of your physical health. Now that you are in middle school or high school, if you have a headache, you probably know how to take some aspirin or some Tylenol to take care of that headache. If you cut yourself, you get a Band-Aid. If an ache or something, you sprain something in one of the sports that you're playing, you know how to reach out for help when you have physical health problems. But when you have mental health problems, we just never talk about how do you take care of that? How do you reach out? So I encourage you to think about where in your community could you reach out if you yourself were struggling or one of your friends were struggling? Where would you go? Is there a walk-in mental health center? In most of your communities there is, but most teens do not know where that is. Would you call 911? Most teens know that is not where you call. But where would you call? Is there an adult in your community that you trust, that you can reach out to? Is it your school counselor? Is it your coach? Whose parent is it that you would feel comfortable talking to? And like I mentioned before, it's really important to think about that ahead of time. But I want to talk about a few things that you can do even when you're feeling well to take better care of your mental health. It's really important now with COVID, but it'll be important moving forward because our mental health should be a top priority for all of us. And I think teens can create the change needed to make mental health a priority. So if you need help, you have to reach out. Robbie's Hope, we have a very crucial message, and it's on these wristbands that we've given out to many, many teens. It's okay to not be okay. It's okay to not be okay. But it's not okay to not ask for help if you are in trouble. The other message, the reason we picked the word hope, hope stands for hold on, pain ends. Hold on, pain ends. I sure wish Robbie would have known both of those things, that he didn't have to look perfect, that he didn't need to be perfect, that he was human, that we all have flaws, that sometimes we put our best face forward without recognizing how we truly feel. But it's okay to talk about how you truly feel. But things you can do for yourself to take better care of your mental health. You can connect with others. I talked about that a little bit. Make sure that you're spending some time with someone face to face. Of course, right now we need to socially distance and wear our masks, but it's still really important to have that personal connection with people, not just relationships on our phone. It's really important to have good physical activity. You probably learned this in grade school about doing things in gym and getting out, just getting good activity. Helping others is a really great way to take care of your own mental health. Eating healthy foods, you've learned that, but it truly, really is important. Paying attention to your sleep habits. If you ever struggle with falling asleep, staying asleep, or just getting enough rest, and if it persists, of course, you may have a big exam that you're staying up really late for, or maybe you have some type of a tournament where your sleep for a few days in a row is not there and you're worried. That's very typical. But if those sleep problems persist, it's when to be aware that there could be something deeper. And that would be if you're struggling to fall asleep, to stay asleep, or if you're struggling to wake up, if you're sleeping too much. So just pay attention to your sleep. So there's a lot of coping mechanisms. A lot of your friends and you may use your phone. There's a number of apps that have been developed to help with our mental health. Breathing techniques, just being able to step away and kind of break the cycle and the pattern that your thinking is going in, and it's really good to use those. I have learned that I get anxious a little bit right now speaking in front of a camera, but when my anxiety escalates, a trick that I use is I think of the word stop, and you can think of this back. I remember when I was helping my kids with their elementary, the acronyms and what they stand for. So I think of the word stop to break the pattern that I'm starting on. If some counselors use a scenario of the train tracks that you're allowing your mind to go down. So you want to break that pattern. So I think of a stop sign. And I start to think of the letters S, T, O, P. And for each of those letters, I try to think of something positive rather than allowing my brain to go down the negative route. So I'll think of the situation that I'm becoming anxious about, and how can I change that? So for us, I can smile, I can sit down, I can, something else that starts with S, and I go through all of those letters. And by the time I'm done, usually I'm in a better spot and I'm not going down that negative path that we can tend to easily get on. Limiting screen time. I know no one likes to hear that, adults included. So it's just really important. Feel free, and I encourage you to talk about your feelings. Find someone that you trust and just be real with people. I understand that a lot of times teens are feeling like they aren't real with each other and they're living under the social media, my life is perfect filter. That's dangerous. It's okay to be real. It's okay to let those in your close circle know who you really are. Most people, they want to know you, and we are all enough. We all matter. Our lives matter. Sometimes we can feel disrespected. We can feel judged. We judge ourselves. We are tough critics on ourselves. But it's okay to be real. You are worthy. You matter. Your life matters. Suicide is never an option. If you talk to someone who attempted suicide but lived, most of them will tell you they didn't want to die. They wanted their pain to end. And dying and ending your pain are two very, very different things. I sure wish that my son knew that he could have ended his pain here on earth. Hold on. Pain ends. Is it going to be easy? Absolutely not. It's hard. Life is hard. Being a teen is hard. Being an adult is hard. But you've got to put the work in. You can do it. If you're struggling, you've got to ask for some help. Like I said, we all have mental health. Mental illness is treatable, and suicide is preventable. Suicide is preventable. I encourage you, please don't joke about suicide. Don't joke about mental health and mental illness. You can be part of the change that is needed to destigmatize teen mental health and create a better future for all of us, for everyone. And it's just about using your words and your thoughts appropriately. I guarantee you, adults want to hear from you. They trust your opinions, and we can work together. Your voice matters. And I encourage you, if you have an idea of what needs to be changed in your community, in your school, on your team, that you think Robbie's help could help you partner with, please reach out. We are about empowering teens to destigmatize teen depression, teen anxiety in an effort to prevent suicide. Thank you so much. You matter. It's okay to not be okay, and always have hope. Hold on. Pain ends.